Stories from Upanishads, retold by Arghya and Jinia Goswami. Friends, in episode 2 of this podcast series, we heard the tale of Satyakama, the seeker of truth. He was a young pupil then. In today's story, we will take you to a forward journey where Satyakama is a great scholar and teacher of sacred text. This story is also featured as a part of Chaandogya Upanishad, which is a part of Sama Veda. This is the story of Satyakama and his pupil Upakosala Kāmalāyana. Satyakama, after attaining sacred knowledge, became a respected teacher. He tutored many pupils throughout his career. Upakosala Kāmalāyana was his student. He was under his revered tutelage for past 12 years and had performed all sacrificial rituals as per the traditions and instructions in the sacred text. It was customary in the hermitage that after graduating, the students were allowed to leave for their homes and seek other professions. Upakosala really wanted to see his parents after 12 long years of studying in the hermitage. However, on the day when all students were leaving the hermitage, Satyakama refrained Upakosala Kāmalāyana from going home, which made him very sad and heartbroken. Satyakama's wife was very kind-hearted and felt bad for the student. She asked for the reason, as she was unable to understand why the young student was detained in the hermitage. She had observed him for 12 long years and knew that he has performed brilliantly as a student and attained the sacred knowledge. She tried to convince Satyakama to let Upakosala go home, but in vain. Rather, Satyakama himself left the hermitage and went on a journey.
Upakosala Kāmalāyana was left alone in the hermitage along with his Guru Mata, Satyakama's wife. The heartbroken student was so sad that he left food. Satyakama's wife affectionately tried to feed him, but all in vain. She asked him, "Upakosala, why don't you eat? You may fall ill. Please eat, my child. Don't brood."
On hearing this, teary-eyed and vacant Upakosala said, "O revered Guru Ma, my heart is broken and unhappy. I cannot eat anything." While Satyakama was on his journey, he thought about Upakosala. He knew that he still needed to learn the sacrificial steps and the sacred text and was not ready to lead a life of a householder as per dharma. Meanwhile, Upakosala too realized that his mind was strayed and was not focused on the sole objective of learning. He told his Guru Mata, "O mother, my mind is impure with desires. These are not negative or foolish, but rather pull me in different directions, whirling around and don't allow me to concentrate. It weans me from my life energy." Just a step back from the story, as per Shatapatha Brahmana, which is another sacred text from the wealth of Indian philosophy, it mentions that there are 3 types of fires or tretagni which must be lit during a yajna or fire sacrifice. They are namely Grahapatagni, which belongs to the master of household and must be kept lit in the Grahapatagni mound, which is circular in shape. No ahutis or sacrifices is done in Grahapatagni. Fire from this is taken to lit another fire mounds, namely Ahavani Agni or the eastern sacrificial fire, and Dakshinagni, which is the southern sacrificial fire. Especially in India, we are very much accustomed with the word Havan, which is actually derived from this word Ahavani Agni. I derailed purposely just to tell you about some of the specific Sanskrit terms which will come up in the story. So, now coming back to the story. Tretagni, or the sacrificial fires, said among themselves,
The student of sacred knowledge has performed his penance well. He has tended us well. We must teach him about Brahman. Then, one day, all the three fires, or Tretagni, appeared in front of Upakosala. They said, Upakosala.
Upakosala opened his eyes and with folded hands said, Lord.
The Tretagni, or three fires, told him, Brahman is prana, that is, life. Brahman is joy. Brahman is the void. Know Brahman as your own self.
Upakosala, on hearing this, replied to fire with the folded hands, O Lord, I know that life is Brahman, but I do not know that joy and void are also Brahman.
The fires replied, My child, the joy is absolutely the same as the void. The void is absolutely the same as joy.
After saying this, they started explaining Upakosala about life and space.
The Grahapatayagni, that is, the householder's fire, continued to explain. Earth, food, fire, sun, all these that you worship are forms of me, Brahman. He who is seen in the sun, that one is me. Then Dakshinayagni, or the southern sacrificial fire, instructed Upakosala. Sun, the one who dwells in the moon, stars, and in the water, that one is me indeed. Sacrificial fire instructed him. Breath, space, sky, lightning are all forms of me. One who dwells in the lightning, that one indeed is me. Then all fires, or Tretagni, told Upakosala in unison, He who knows and devotes to this fire, thus repels all evil doing from himself, becomes a possessor of the world, reaches a full length of life, and lives long. His descendants are not destroyed, both in this world and in the yonder. After saying this, the sacrificial fire assumed a new aspect and transformed into the Lord Himself. The earth, life, the sun, moon, the stars, the lightning, everything was transformed and idealized. Upakosala realized the true nature of all things. The Tretagni continued, My dear Upakosala, you have this knowledge of ourselves and knowledge of the Atman or soul. However, your teacher, revered Guru Satyakama, will tell you the way to attain it.
After a few days, Satyakama returned to the hermitage from his journey. He visited his student who was busy memorizing the sacrificial instructions. On seeing him, he was startled. He asked Upakosala, My son, your face shines like one who knows Brahman. Who has taught you? Upakosala smiled and said, My revered Guru, The sacrificial fires taught me about Brahman. Satyakama was glad to hear this. He affectionately embraced his student and said, "My son, what you learned is true. Indeed, they told you about the world. I'll teach you the truth. Just as the drops of the water cannot cling to the lotus leaves, no evil will ever cling to the one who knows this truth." The teacher continued while his student listened to him with full concentration. "One which glows in the depth of your eyes is the Atman or Self. One who is immortal, fearless is the Brahman or Supreme Self. The beauty and the wonders of creation come together. The one who knows this and understands this wondrous fusion is called Samyadvama. The one who brings in all goodness into the universe is called Vamani. The one who brings in light, for it shines in all worlds, is called Bhamani. He is the beautiful, the luminous one. In all worlds forever and ever he shines." Satyakama continued that once the person dies, whether all cremation ceremonies are performed or not, the person is given to the fire. From the fire into the day, from the day into the half month of the waxing moon, from the half month of the waxing moon into the 6 months during which the sun moves northwards, from the months into the years, from the year into the sun, and from the sun into the moon, from the moon into the lightning. Then there is Purusha, or a person who is amanava or non-human. He leads them into Brahman. This is the way to the gods, the way to the Brahman. Once human proceeds this path, will not ever return. After explaining the Brahman to Upakosala, Satyakama declares him as his worthy disciple. Finally, he was allowed to go home enlightened with this eternal knowledge of Brahman. So, dear friends, that was the story of Satyakama and his disciple Upakosala. You must be wondering why the teacher was so heartless and detained the young boy in the hermitage and was not allowed to go to his parents after graduation. In reality, Satyakama was the perfect teacher or guru. He knew what he was doing. He wanted all his disciples to excel in life and in other professions. The basic building block of one's character is education, and he wanted to make that foundation strong. So he left Upakosala to fight his inner demons for self-realization. Swami Vivekananda once commented, "A man harms his disciples by staying too long with them, for they do not develop the independence needed to pursue a spiritual life." So as a teacher, Satyakama left Upakosala to realize that his thoughts and minds were strayed and needed focus. Upakosala went on to rediscover the eternal truth and know the Brahman. Later on, Satyakama, when realized that Upakosala has worked hard towards understanding Brahman, like an able teacher, he explained him the ways to attain it. He enlightened him with the secret knowledge of Akshi Purusha Vidya, which describes being seen in the eyes of the Brahman.
As it is a custom in our podcast series, we will ask you 3 questions and will refer to the names of those lucky ones who have provided us with all the correct answers in future episodes. So the first question is, why was Upakosala detained in the hermitage? Second, what are the 3 types of sacrificial fires mentioned in the story? And the last one, name the sacred knowledge or Vidya which describes the being seen in the eyes of Brahman. Please email us your responses. The email address would be argyathings@gmail.com. We would really love to have your responses soon.
That's it, my friends, for this episode. See you again in the next episode with another enlightening and engaging story. Until then,
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
this podcast was created on Hubhopper Studio. If you wish to start your own podcast for free, visit www.hubhopperstudio.com. Click on the link in the episode description or visit www.hubhopperstudio.com.